Four 8th grade boys jumped a 12-year-old classmate behind their school over $20 of Robux. They thought they had won the day. What he had been doing for 8 months before that day is what you need to hear. Ezra was 12, and he was the kind of kid most adults at his school did not remember by name. He sat in the second row in every class. He answered questions only when called on directly. He ate lunch at the same corner table every day with one open book and one sandwich. He had no real friends at the school. He had no enemies that anyone could name out loud. He played Roblox for 2 hours every night after homework was finished in his bedroom. He earned Robux by watching ads on a small phone his mother had given him for his birthday. He had been targeted by 4 boys in his grade since the first week of October. The 4 boys were named Drew, Mason, Trent, and Lucas. They had been friends since elementary school. They had figured out that Ezra would give them small amounts of Robux if they cornered him at school. They started small, $5 on a Monday, $10 on a Thursday, $2 after gym class. Ezra always paid. He paid because they always cornered him in places without cameras around. He paid because they always asked when no teacher was within earshot of the hallway. He paid because the first time he had said no, Drew had shoved him into a locker, hard. Drew had said, "Next time it will be more than a shove, so just give us the Robux." Ezra had given them $5 the next morning. Ezra had been paying them ever since that day. By the end of February, Ezra had paid the 4 boys almost $300 worth of Robux. On a Wednesday afternoon in March, the 4 boys cornered Ezra by his locker after the final bell. What they did not know about him was the part of this story that they would learn the slow way. Drew asked Ezra for $20 of Robux on that Wednesday afternoon in the locker hallway. Ezra said no for the first time in 5 months. Ezra said no in a very quiet voice. Drew laughed. Mason laughed. Trent and Lucas laughed too. None of them believed him. Drew said, "Just say yes and we leave. You know how this works by now, Ezra." Ezra said no a second time. Ezra closed his locker. Ezra started walking toward the back exit. Drew, Mason, Trent, and Lucas followed him out of the school through the back hallway. They followed him into the alley between the school and the back parking lot. What happened in that alley took about 90 seconds from start to finish. Drew shoved Ezra against the brick wall of the building. Ezra fell down to one knee. Mason kicked Ezra's backpack across the alley until it landed in a puddle near the dumpsters. Trent grabbed Ezra by the collar. Lucas hit Ezra in the side of the face with an open hand. Ezra fell onto the gravel. His lips split open. His left eye started to swell almost immediately. The 4 boys stood over him for about 10 seconds without saying anything else. Then they walked away laughing. Drew said something to Mason that Ezra could not hear from the ground. Ezra picked himself up. He walked over to the dumpsters. He pulled his wet backpack out of the puddle. He did not cry. He did not run. He did not call his mother on her phone. He walked home the long way. He went into his bedroom. He closed the door behind him. But Ezra did not cry that night. Ezra did not even look at his face in the bathroom mirror. What he did instead is the part of this story that nobody at his school understood until the following Tuesday. Ezra showed up at school the next morning with a split lip and a swelling bruise around his left eye. He sat down at his usual second-row desk in his first period class without saying anything. His teacher, Mrs. Cole, asked him quietly in the hallway if everything was okay at home. Ezra said yes. Ezra said he had fallen off his bike on the way home from school the day before. Mrs. Cole did not look convinced. Mrs. Cole wrote a note in her gradebook about the conversation. That whole Thursday and Friday, Ezra walked around the school looking strangely calm. He sat at his usual table at lunch. He read his usual book. He ate his usual sandwich. He even smiled twice on Friday at random students in the hallway. The smile was not big. It was real. Drew and the 3 other boys watched him from across the cafeteria for almost an hour at lunch. They had been expecting him to either cry, hide, or tell a teacher about the fight on Wednesday. Ezra did not do any of those 3 things. Ezra did something none of them had been prepared for. On the following Monday morning, the principal pulled Drew out of second period without warning. Drew was suspended that afternoon for 10 school days for assault and continued extortion of a classmate. His parents had to come to the school to pick him up at 1 in the afternoon. On Tuesday morning, Mason was pulled out of class and suspended for the same things. On Wednesday, Trent was pulled out and suspended. On Thursday, Lucas was pulled out and suspended too. Within 4 school days, all 4 bullies were gone. Nobody at the school understood how any of this had happened. Ezra did not announce anything. Ezra did not change his routine. Ezra did not start eating with new friends. He sat at his same lunch table with his same book and his same sandwich every single day that week. What he had inside his backpack the entire time was the part of this story that broke the case open. The night of the alley fight on that Wednesday in March, Ezra had not cried in his bedroom. He had opened his closet. He had taken out a small laptop his uncle had given him for Christmas. He had opened a folder on the laptop that he had been adding to for almost 8 straight months. The folder was named Just In Case, and Ezra had been building it since the second week of October. Every single time Drew, Mason, Trent, or Lucas had cornered him at school for Robux, Ezra had recorded it. He had used his cheap birthday phone in his backpack pocket, audio recording app set to 1-tap activation. He had taped over the microphone hole so the phone looked broken from the outside. He had over 40 separate audio recordings of the 4 boys demanding Robux from him at school. He had transcripts of every single conversation. He had dates, he had times, he had locations. He had screenshots of every Robux transfer he had made to their accounts on Roblox. He had logs of every single dollar amount they had taken from him since the first day in October. The total came to $293 over 8 straight months at his school. After the Wednesday alley fight, Ezra had calmly walked home and added the alley audio to the folder. He had emailed the entire folder to 3 different adults that same Wednesday night before bed. He had sent it to the school principal. He had sent it to his own mother. He had sent it to a school district lawyer whose name he had found on the school website. He had attached a calm, 5-sentence email explaining what had been happening for the entire school year. He had not asked anyone for help. He had presented evidence. He had let the system do the rest. The school had reviewed every audio recording with the lawyer over the weekend before Monday. By Monday morning, the case against all 4 boys was already completed and documented. By Friday afternoon, every single one of them was suspended and facing juvenile court hearings. This is the part of the story that, if you are watching this, you should hear twice. Ezra did not survive 8 months of extortion because he was brave. He survived it because at age 12, he had figured out something most adults never learn. He had figured out that the worst people in your life almost always trust the wrong thing about you. Drew and Mason and Trent and Lucas had trusted that Ezra was too scared to ever fight back. They had been correct about that part. Ezra never once tried to fight back physically. But they had not noticed the second thing about him. They had not noticed that he was always listening. Ezra had not been collecting evidence to feel powerful. Ezra had been collecting evidence to feel safe. He had been 12 years old and alone in a school that did not see him. He had needed a plan. So he had built one, quietly, over 8 months, while they were spending his Robux on game skins. The folder was not revenge. The folder was the only insurance policy a quiet kid could afford to make for himself. That is the part of bullying that adults almost never tell you the truth about. The kids who beat other kids up are almost never paying attention to the kid they are beating up. They are paying attention to their own friends watching them do it. The victim is just the backdrop for the show. While they are looking at each other, the victim has the most powerful thing in the whole hallway in his pocket: a recording device, a timestamp, a note, a second pair of ears that does not need anyone's permission to exist. If you are being bullied right now and you cannot fight back, you do not need to fight back. You need to write it down. You need to record it. You need to keep dates and names. Then you need to email all of it to 3 adults at the same time on the same evening. The fight you cannot win in the alley is the fight you can win in a folder on a laptop. Drew, Mason, Trent, and Lucas were all expelled from the school district by the end of the academic year. All 4 of them were placed on juvenile probation for assault and extortion of a minor. They had to do 100 hours of community service each at a local elementary school. The court ordered all 4 families to pay back every dollar Ezra had given them over 8 months. Their Roblox accounts were reported for organized harassment. All 4 accounts were permanently banned within 1 week. Ezra did not become a hero at his school after the boys were gone. He did not want that. He kept eating at his same lunch table with his same book and his same sandwich. In the spring, a quiet 7th grade boy named Sam sat down across from Ezra at lunch one day. Sam said, "I read in the school paper what you did. Can I sit here sometimes?" Ezra said yes. Sam started sitting at the table with him 3 days a week after that. By the end of the year, Sam was sitting there every single day with him at lunch. They started a new Roblox account together over the summer. Just the 2 of them on the friends list. If you are watching this, here is what Ezra learned that nobody at his school ever fully understood. The best response to somebody hurting you is almost never to hurt them back the same way. It is to remember everything they did, every detail, every time, every name. The strongest person in any room is not the one with the loudest voice or the biggest fist. It is the one quietly writing it all down where nobody is watching. If you are being bullied right now, you do not have to be loud, brave, or strong to make it stop. You just have to be patient enough to keep evidence and brave enough to send it to a real adult. The second thing Ezra learned is the harder one to say out loud at 12 years old. Popularity is not the goal. Safety is the goal. Then peace. Then one friend who actually sees you. Everything else is just the noise people make on their way to figuring out what actually matters. Have you ever stayed quiet when somebody was hurting you? Tell me below. If you watched till the end, like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. See you next time.